character who looks dangerous but is actually harmless and character who looks harmless but is actually dangerous are both well and good, but consider character who looks dangerous and actually is, but for a completely different reason than they look like they should be. And no, I don't mean like guy who wears robes with a water motif is actually a fire wizard. I mean like 7-foot tall mountain of gleaming muscle with sword the size of a surfboard strapped to his back is actually the 9 realms most feared lawyer, Hiram McDaniels, a 9-headed dragon wanted for insurance fraud. Google. List of vampires. Lists of vampires. Wikipedia. List of fictional vampires. Wikipedia. Can't fking sleep because Wikipedia has separate lists for vampires and for fictional vampires. So, due to the coronavirus, the state government in Michigan decided to turn on all water for Detroit and cover the first month free and make the billing for every month after only $25, at least until the pandemic dies down. For those that don't know, Detroit has been suffering from water shutoffs so bad, the UN had to step in and declared it a violation of human rights in 2014. The residents are still having their water shut off because they can't pay their bills, which just so happen to be purposefully extremely expensive because the water is being shut off. The residents literally cannot afford these stupidly gouged prices the city is forcing on them in an effort to kick them out. CPS is stepping in and taking kids away from parents because they can't provide a safe and healthy home environment on top of other horrors they face. Can you imagine not being able to take a shower at home? Flush the toilet? Do the dishes? Water is essential for life. But, almost as if it's nothing, the state government decided in the past week to take charge of all the shutoffs and turn it back on and provide the first month free and a $25 bill, almost as if it's nothing. All this forced poverty on people, all of the lack of health care because we can't afford it, all this the government keeps saying to us is fake. It's fake. They turned the water on like it was nothing. People had their kids taken away from them. Goddamn. A radiator in a Victorian house with bread warmer built in. Now this is galaxy brain. Soup should be a human right. In the heart of every town, there should be a big pot of soup, and you can help yourself. And if anybody meddles with the soup, well, the answer should be obvious. Soup is gross and not a meal. How dare you SMH? It's thin, has no nutritional value, and tastes awful. Plus, I can't have it anymore. It's a side, if anything. Thin, no nutritional value? You've been eating hot water. Blocked and reported. You have an extremely limited concept of soup, and I'm begging you to expand your soup horizons before you make further a fool of yourself on Tumblr.com. Wonder Woman proposing to Supergirl in the presence of Darth Vader and his entourage. This is the future liberals want. Another tidbit of Mando lore. Mandalorians quickly figured out that GD mostly view blaster fire as fun lightsaber practice. During the Mando GD wars, they dealt with this in characteristically practical fashion. They used slug throwers, aka ordinary firearms, instead, because if a GD tries to deflect a regular bullet, what happens is a bunch of bullet shrapnel to the GD's face. GD or Sith deflects blaster fire. Mandalade, racking a shotgun. Deflect this, you wizard bee. Everyone. You can't beat the GD. They'll just deflect your blasters. The Mandalorians. Shame. Jinkies. Gang. I wonder which of these doors is the one the animators drew for us to open. I can't possibly guess. They all look so identical. The Prince in Cinderella is so funny and, frankly, stannable. No screen time. His father has more character development than him. The Duke has more character development than him. So does Bruno Lucifer and all of the mice. He's in love at first sight, but doesn't remember any details on what she looks like. He has a foot fetish. He didn't even think to ask Cinderella what her name was. And he himself has no name. He didn't ask Cinderella's name because he doesn't have a name, and he didn't want things to get awkward if she asked for his name. Okay, yeah, that checks out. I still think that my favorite urban legend slash folklore fact is that there are certain areas in New Orleans where you cannot get a taxi late at night. Not because it isn't safe, but because taxi companies have had recurring problems of picking up ghosts in those areas who are not aware that they are dead and disappearing from the cab before reaching the destination, and therefore stiffing the driver on the fare, causing a loss for the company. An occupational hazard of cab driving I had not previously considered. I love that the nuller problem here is not ghosts in my taxi cab, but ghosts asking broke dead bastards, and I got bills. Horror is when ghosts get into cabs and scare drivers. Magical realism is when cab companies have to develop policies to prevent ghastly fare theft. In a book about the tsunami in Japan in 2011, the writer talked about how there was a huge increase in reports of ghostly activity. Apparently in Japan, treating ghosts rudely is basically considered the stupidest thing you could possibly do. For months after the tsunami, taxi drivers would pick up a passenger, only to have them give an address in one of the devastated areas. The cab driver often looked up halfway to the destination to find their fare had disappeared. Not wanting to be impolite to the person, even if they were dead, they'd drive to the address, open the door to let them out, then drive away. Don't tease the fly traps, it's mean. Poison ivy as a kindergarten teacher. No, but really. Fly traps use up a lot of energy closing their traps. You know, a lot of other plants that move that much, tricking them into closing when there isn't food. There is indeed mean. But they're plants. They're devoid of sentience, right? They don't feel. They're more like little wind-up machines, right? They don't act on instinct. They're, well, traps. You can't actually be mean to a plant, right? I'm of the opinion that meanness is about the nature of the action, not awareness on the part of the target of the action. Love a BBQ. I love a good BBQ. Sit the F down. Tumblr, where I have to explain why child labor is wrong to 27-year-old libertarians. Some kids literally have no choice but to work because their family is desperately poor. Are you going to prevent a family from having that extra income because it gives you moral fuzzes? Tumblr, where I have to explain why child labor is wrong to 27-year-old libertarians. Eek. A mouse. Mini, I have something to tell you. You'd be scared too if a 6-inch tall naked human sprinted across your floor. I need to bake some bread immediately. Don't we all? No F we all. I'm gonna go to Safeway and get yeast. Bet. You really gonna go and make some fking bread? You're gonna go and cultivate the skills needed? Proof. F you F you F you. You aren't fking getting any. This is my first time making bread, and by the fking dead god, I killed you lonely know the taste of bland schwanda fetish. Bro, can I join you? I've been making bread for fun for a while. I can give you tips. It's already in the oven, and hatred and spite is a much better ingredient than love and care. Rohypnol has an incredibly salty taste to it. It's disgusting. And it also isn't a drug that acts immediately. The minute you notice the salty taste, you have about 5 to 10 minutes to get somewhere safe or call an ambulance, and it can be fought if you're aware of it. It will make you woozy. It will make you so dizzy you can't stand upright. It will certainly make you unable to walk properly, but if you struggle to remain conscious, you can get about 20 extra minutes of consciousness from the drug before it will knock you out completely. If you're in a public place and the person who drugged you is trying to take you somewhere private, start a fight. Insist as loudly and as violently as you can that you refuse to go anywhere with them. Odds are they're trying to make as little of a scene as possible as they drag you away, and if you're putting up a fight and very clearly drunk, eyes will turn on them and they'll either need to let you go or cause a serious scene, which they don't want. Don't just act like you're just protesting being taken home, though. Fight like your life depends on it, even if they aren't assaulting you. Cause a scene. That's the last thing they want. You wander through the ruins of a once mighty city. There you see a man grinning at you, wearing a rusted crown. You ask him, why the F would he wear an iron crown? And how the hell he got it wet enough for it to tarnish. At least chilled it, so the outside looks gold, and it doesn't tarnish. What the F? He gets really defensive about it, like weirdly defensive. Oh, he says, oh, I'm sorry I don't, like, carry gilding materials around. Sorry, I'm not prepared like you. Where's your crown? Huh, you don't have one. I didn't think so. Watch yourself. Cartoons? Isn't that for kids? I look up and smile. Yes it is. Suddenly, my appearance shifts and shrinks as I become a child. All my money turns to Monopoly money, and all my bills are gone. My adult responsibilities vanish. Finally, the spell is broken, and I'm free. Sometimes I'm tempted to rejoin the church and become a priest. But, like, a properly Christ-like priest, continuing to do whatever the F I want, spending my after sermon Sundays drinking sangria in my backyard, wearing nothing but a thong, heart-shaped sunglasses, and flip-flops with a flamingo pattern on them, while blasting Motorhead, and then argue that if God was displeased by this, he would send a lightning to strike me down, which I and behold, he hasn't. And when I do see some sort of injustice, cruelty, violence, personal or systemic, hate speech, or as a cherry on top, a supposed Christian condoning or defending them, I can argue that if God was displeased by this, he would have sent me to punch you in the throat, which I and behold, he has. People managing to live where they grew up is really bizarre to me. Hi, Croatian here. As an inland country, I found a job processing uranium. We have a lot of it. I wish I was processing uranium in Croatia. I think about this post every day. Hey, another Croatian here. Croatia has a coastline, and I can't find a single mention of uranium in Croatia. I don't know what kind of parallel universe this person is from. One Croatian speaks only the truth. The other Croatian speaks only lies. You must ask them one question to determine which is which, and apparently, it can't be about geography or uranium. Female bell peppers have 4 lobes, more seeds, and are sweeter than male bell peppers. Female. Male. If you've ever put a 3-lobe pepper in your mouth, you're gay, fellas. I'm not an A cup, or a B cup, or even a D cup. I'm a T cup. Stop. Black cats are wonderful because you can stare into the void, and not only does the void stare back, sometimes it trots up to you happily and begs for pats. The void is loud and wants chicken. Instead of making normal ghost pranks, do minor inconveniences. It'll be absolute psychological torture on your victims. Keep untying their shoes. Deliberately put a strand of hair in their face constantly, giving them that sharp poking feeling somewhere, but they can't find where it's coming from. Putting rocks in their shoes. Making deep puddles in front of where they're walking, giving them the feeling there's a droplet landing on their head, even when it's not raining. Misplacing their socks constantly. The list is endless.